burglary, selling intoxicants, prostitution, or being agents of adult criminal. These activities have negative effects on the children themselves and public business and the general security. It's a problem that cannot be tackled meaningfully without addressing factors that push and pull children to the streets. The presence of children on the streets is the result of a combination of many factors, largely compounded by poverty at household and community level, mistreatment of children within the family setting, violence against children, failure to extend family systems to care for orphans, breakdown of traditional care systems, loss of parental control, and peer pressure are often the reasons why children end up on the streets. Most of the children on the streets have parents or caregivers who encourage them to go to the streets to secure additional financial support. Human trafficking and silent child labor involving several players, including parents and caregivers, who prefer to keep business going on to the detriment of children, are some of the emerging factors in the phenomenon. It's painful that the general public seems to be oblivious of the dangers caused by the street children and the impact on the community. Parents and caregivers seem to be more interested in the money and materials the children bring home and do not bother to find out the conditions under their lives. The government of Uganda is a signatory to a number of international instruments. And those instruments include Article 34 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, which recognizes the need for protection of rights of children without discrimination. The Local Government Act 1997, as amended, Cap 243, Schedule 2, mandates local governments to provide care and protection services to children within their areas of jurisdiction without discrimination. This is where we get to the chairperson, MC5, and other stakeholders. But also, it is unwise for us as government to leave the responsibility for caring for these children to NGOs. These children don't belong to NGOs. They are our citizens. We should take responsibility 100%. If you can take care of thieves in prisons, provide them shelter, provide them mattresses, when we know there is such a menace, why would we not take care of the children who are not protected? If we can take care of the garbage on the streets, which have possibly no potential to yield anything reproductive, how about the potential children who we know are a blessing from God, like the Reverend already stated? So I think this is one of the issues that we need to address without rotating around with words. We need to address the issue of street children. Either send them back where they came from and restrain them from coming back. Because some of the incentives we provide ourselves under the guise of being too humane and pathetic are the drives that bring these children here on the street. We have to address this matter using all avenues. We have a culture that brings children together during those festivals. And I was happy when Mototo was mentioned, that it brings my case very clear. Those are some of the areas. Girls run for 16 days. What is happening in the middle of the darkness where these girls are going? They are also of age, and you know how puberty can really push children to do things that they possibly have not done. There are some festivals that occurred maybe a month or so back, that brought girls naked. I think you saw it. It must have been embarrassing, really. Yes, we have our culture, we practice it, but the girls naked, were they from Serongo or Ambudi? It was the whole of Elgon, but specific around Ramburi area, stretching from Kenya. In thousands. Breasts out, bare chests, and of course the appetizing dancing perhaps will not have left people the same. But who bears the burden of that excitement? It is still the girls. So you find little girls producing others. COVID-19 was also another spike because 3 million girls were impregnated. That is talking about the pregnancy of the 3 million girls. It's not talking about the responsible fathers who could have impregnated them. And perhaps they must have dropped out of school. So the pregnancies that people have not planned for, eventually, when the children are delivered, either some people drop them on the street, or because they have no love and care and even facilities, she will care for the child for a few days and thereafter donate the child to the street. And perhaps when now this is applying to all cultures, we need to revise that the girl is born and will be given away into marriage. She has no stake back home. She can't own land where she is born, and neither does she hold anything where she is married. So eventually, when the relationship goes bitter or sour, she has to be dropped also on the street. So this woman, who will she first surrender to the street if she has carried 4 or 5 children? She has her mouth to feed and many other 3 or 4 mouths to feed. So she will surrender the children first, unfortunately. So we need to pattern. This applies to all of us. Because the world is not only favoring men, it is also disadvantaging them. Eventually, we're going to raise up small criminals in the backyard. So prevention of trafficking of persons. I was in a market called the Arapai market. And I deliberately went there on one of the days where we were celebrating, I think, the Rural Women's Day. It's because I had heard that they were selling girls in Arapai, selling in the market. Like any other commodity, soccer, millet together, now they have mingled even girls. At the cost of only 50,000 shillings. You can imagine. And those who were buying them were coming from neighboring countries. So it was an open market. So instead of rotating around to have these conferences under big hotels like this, I deliberately chose Arapai. Let's go and have this meeting here in this market. Make our celebrations, but also make our point clear. But when I asked randomly where the market of girls is, they said, under that tree where you are standing is where the market is. You have even disrupted us. We should be very busy now. I asked some stakeholders, including the DCDO. They said, yes, it happens. How do you just watch this? Well, we have nothing to do. But you are law enforcers, and the mandate is put in your hands. But the girls are being trafficked out of the country. So that's why the market was there. All factories that are starting now are looking for cheap labor in Africa. All industries, all investors that are coming are looking for cheap labor in Africa. Why can't we target these particular ones to provide labor, at least which is payable, to skill them? And I'm happy that the Presidential Initiative has established a skilled facility here in MBALE. I think one of our first priorities, or if we are providing quotas, let's first identify the young street girls and boys and give them a rationalized, a specific quota for them to be able to get employment in the factories around MBALE, Tororo, and around Busia. Because you are having an industrial hub, luckily, which many other countries have not yet developed. So these children surely should be given a quota so that we can also sensitize people. We need to use our radio programs and media forums to sensitize people about taking care of the children at home. Some people have abjugated their responsibilities at home. They don't talk to children. They are too busy running and chasing life. And eventually, the offspring will not be able to fit into our own shoes. So we need to have a mechanism through which we talk to the children. I want to appreciate the role played by the religious community. Because at least they labor to talk about family life and care. But it's only to those who already have good morals to go and present themselves in the church. So perhaps we are preaching to the converted. Now we need to take our preaching life to the streets. But there are also those who are practicing to preach on the streets and are not addressing those particular issues and concerns. And we are not talking about how to care about the children and also to raise the number of children that you think is really enough and you are capable of raising. So my thinking would be getting to the media and even in the public address system. We make a drive once or twice in a specific period addressing the issue of street children and many other vices that affect our community. And if we turn it into a way of a discussion and perhaps turn it into a debate, maybe we'll save a soul or two. Ladies and gentlemen, my ministry is committed to the promotion of dignity for every child in the non-discriminatory manner and to enabling all children to realize their rights in line with the above provisions in the international and national legal instruments to which Uganda is a signatory. The Ministry since the 1990s developed and implemented various programs that greatly reduced street children phenomenon. 1993, 1994, under support from the Street Children Project, the phenomenon was reduced to almost zero. The Ministry also developed Street Child Guideline in 1997-1998 to support stakeholders, the local governments, and the civil society. It addressed them in areas of vulnerable children. The guidelines mainly focused on the prevention and immediate handling of any child on street before he or she becomes a street child. The guidelines emphasize the role of government and parents. In 2002, due to the influx caused by the insurgency in the north, the ministry developed an interventional action plan. And this was followed by the practice guidelines for working with street children in 2005. We approved the Child Home Rules 2013 and guidelines on working with street children, as well as standard operating procedures for tracing, resettling, and reintegration of children in communities of their origin and homesteads, the streets of Kampala. Overall, these years, the ministry worked with the development partners such as UNICEF, USAID, NGOs like the TRAC, and academic institutions like Makerere University to carry out studies, surveys on causes push and pull factors of street children and the children protection to inform interventions. Despite this studies, the phenomenon has persisted. This minded is the changing nature of the phenomenon and inaction by parents, caregivers, communities, and local council government. As government, we retaliate our support to all stakeholders interested in addressing this phenomenon. Resources like this one today will provide us with much needed information on how to deal with street children, especially in difficult categories in cities like MBALE. Eradication of street children phenomenon from cities and urban areas require a combination of strategies and multi-sectoral actors, especially the children activists, to address and support government efforts to ensure that all children grown up in nurturing families and environment and support the realization of their fullest potential and not on the streets. It's my sincere hope that the deliberations at this symposium will result into a wide understanding and appreciation that children are not, that streets are not the best places for children to live and grow on. We are aware that out of this sympathies or hidden exploitation, individuals and organizations come up to support street children by taking them to residential homes or providing food for them on the street. While some of these actions may seem to address the immediate need of the children, they are detrimental in their full growth. I further call upon the stakeholders here and the general public to resist from giving handouts to children on the streets or take them under the residential care. Report cases of children of neglect, abuse, or relevant authorities and institute community policing for the abuse of children within the community. We encourage parents and families and communities to take up their responsibilities, to plan for children they can manage, to care for, and bring them up into responsible citizens. For grades, we have a tendency of calling children school children, but I don't know which children has been able to deliver. I don't know which school delivers children. They can only support us as parents in educating them, but the children belong to families. But you will hear parents complaining that the school children have returned back home. And they are struggling to ensure that the time comes when they should be sending them back to the school. So once we delineate these children away from ourselves, and raising up a child takes a community. It takes a community to raise up a child. But it takes more responsible parents to nurture a child and groom and shape them up. So once both men and women are too busy for children, then certainly we do not have a future. We don't have a generation that will even take up the values and norms we cherished and upheld. So parents, guardians, and local council should be made accountable for children littering on the street. Unless we all get concerned about the presence of children on the streets, the phenomenon will persist and actually multiply. In a cabinet meeting in November 2019, Cabinet directed that addressing the street children phenomenon should focus on addressing the push factors and interventions designed using a multi-sectoral approach and integrated in the ongoing and future government programs.